Welcome back to another episode of What Would Wake Man Do? In today's episode, we're going to compare the Tige RZX and the Nautique G23 based on a comment from one of my friends. So let's go ahead and get into this. All right, back in the office here, and today's What Would Wake Man Do episode is going to cover a comment I got from one of my friends, Brian Howard. It was very recent. As of the time of this recording, it wasn't even a week ago. He asked me to compare the 24 RZX to the G23. So the Tige 24 RZX to the Nautique G23. I'm going to take this a step further, and I'm also going to compare both of those boats to the Ultre ZX from Tige, which is a new line, which I think Tige is specifically targeting the maybe the Paragon series with the Ultre series. But I think it's probably best comparable to the G23. So I'm gonna compare all three together in this video. Now keep in mind, I obviously have not ridden behind every single boat that's out there. This video is definitely not going to give you video wave comparisons where I show the two waves next to each other. On a rare occasion, I'm able to do that, which one of my most popular videos I did that. But I definitely don't have the ability to get out behind every single boat that's out there. I wish I could. I also believe that the best way you're going to be able to make a comparison is to be able to get behind the boat. So these videos are more so to give you maybe some more information and a different perspective, not to tell you that this boat wins every time. It's more or less just to give you a little bit of extra information and my thoughts and opinions. So take that at face value. I know there's a set of videos out there that exists where they're actually gridding the waves and they're driving the boats next to each other and they're rating it. And I can tell you that that video series was bought and paid for by Malibu. So my guess is it's at least a little bit biased, if not fully biased. So I'm going to provide you as unbiased information as I can. But anyways, take this video series at face value. You do what you want. You don't have to listen to what I say. Anything can be argued. I'm simply providing my opinions and thoughts. So anyways, let's get into this comparison. So the first thing that I've done is I've pulled up the specs for the 24 RZX, which is just on the Tige website. So you can see it's a 24.5 foot boat. That's one of the reasons why I thought it might be good to take the Ultre ZX in consideration, because they have a 23 foot boat, which compares more to the G23. You can see the dry weight is 6,300 pounds. Ballast is 4,000 pounds. Fuel capacity is 80 gallons. Seating is 18 people. Pretty well set up boat, but mostly to be expected for a 24 foot boat. I did own a 24 MXZ, and this has similar specs to that. I would say the weight is better, but also, the 24 MXZ I owned was a 2018, so 6 years older. And I believe the 24 MXZ might be closer to these specs, or if you want to compare the M240 or the M242. Really good in a lot of ways. Really good in a lot of areas as far as specs go. I have all this in a spreadsheet to compare it. So now I'm going to hop over to the Ultre ZX. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. Just a guess. Ultre. You can actually see that the bow even looks kind of like Nautique in a way. But yeah, so this is a 23.5 foot boat. We've got a dry weight of 7,000 pounds, ballast of 4,000 pounds, fuel capacity 76 gallons, seats 16 people, and here's an even bigger kind of hint that it's aiming at the Paragon series, because you got a 25 and a 23. Okay, so now let's jump over to the G23. So we got a 23 foot boat, 65.6 gallon fuel capacity, 16 people. We've got a dry weight of 6,000 pounds and max ballast of 3,650. We're going to assume that all three of these boats have a comparable engine, probably the 450. I think in all three of these boats you can probably go up to a bigger engine if you want to. So now let's flip over to my spreadsheet where I've got them all in. So you can see I've got the G23, the 24 RZX, and the 23ZX, the Ultre 23ZX. So you can see that the G23 is actually the shortest of all the boats. The Ultre has an extra half foot. Obviously the 24 footer, that's got an extra foot and a half compared to the G23 and an extra foot compared to the ZX. So obviously if you're looking for space, the 24 and a half foot boat is going to be the best. You can see it has 18 people capacity. So if you want extra space, definitely the G23 loses there. Fuel capacity. So again, both of these boats have pretty huge fuel capacity. And I've talked about this in other videos, comparisons. A lot of this has to do with the fact that G23 or Nautique keeps as much of their ballast below deck as they can, and they try to keep that floor, at a normal height within the lockers and everything. So I would imagine that these boats are probably taking a little bit of the storage area or a little bit more of the flooring, something to that effect, but I don't know that for sure. So without knowing that for sure, obviously the RZX or the ZX wins on fuel capacity. And again, 24 RZX wins on people. The G23 and 23ZX are the same on people. Dry weight, you can see that the RZX and the 23ZX, which this actually surprises me. The 23ZX is more than the 24 RZX, but they both beat out the G23. The 24 RZX doesn't beat out the G23 by much, which doesn't surprise me too much. The G23 is a big boat, so even though it's a foot and a half shorter, it's only 300 pounds lighter. Again, that doesn't surprise me because it's a big boat. But the 23ZX, I'm guessing they went deeper hull on that, like a taller boat. If it's sitting on the trailer next to you, my guess is it's a taller boat than the 24 RZX. You can see the ballast between the 24 RZX and the 23ZX are the same, which is interesting. But you got 7,000 more pounds of dry weight on the 23ZX. The max ballast on the G23. So we're only 350 pounds under the max ballast on both of these. So you can see your total weights. Again, the two Tige boats went out on the weight, and again, the 23ZX kind of surprises me on how much more. So that's 1,350 more pounds. So that's good. I will tell you that I would probably bet money that the wakeboard wake on the G23 would beat out both of these boats. That's my bet based on experience and owning a G23. I could be wrong there. I'd be curious if people could comment that have ridden behind all three of these, what they think of the wakeboard wake. Especially if you're a pro. If a pro has ridden behind these, I wonder which one they would choose if they weren't sponsored by any of these, if they didn't have any bias. I wonder which one they choose based on wakeboard wake. Again, my bet is the wakeboard wake is still better on the G23, but surf wave, I mean, you got to think that maybe the 23ZX or the 24 RZX might have more push and might be a bigger wave based on specs. So most people pick their boats based on surf waves these days. So in that case, if you only care about surf wave, there's a decent chance the 24 RZX has a better surf wave, or at least a comparable surf wave, but seats more people and has more space in general, has more fuel capacity. Also, let's jump over here. The 24 RZX wins on cost, so I'm pretty certain that's probably going to be cheaper out of all three of these, and probably significantly cheaper than the G23. And when I say significant, by tens of thousands of dollars is my guess. Let's get through some more of this. We'll talk more about cost and whatnot. But yeah, the 23ZX though, chances are it's going to be a bigger wave and more push based on specs. So again, I'd be curious if somebody's ridden behind all three of these, what they'd say about the wave on all three of these. I would also say that even though these, this differs from this by 1,350 pounds, I still think it would be up to the person's preference of like which wave they would like better. Do they like certain features of one wave over the other one? So I still think it might be a toss-up. Engine, I'm only giving the win to the engine on the G23 because I know that Tige runs the Raptor engines, and I had a Raptor engine in two of my Malibu boats that I owned, and they're super loud. I liked the engines. They were just super loud. And when you compare them to the PCMs that function relatively the same as far as torque, efficiency, things like that. It's quieter though. The PCM engine is quieter. So basically there's similar engines, similar output, all this stuff, but PCM is noticeably quieter. So that's the only reason why I give the win there. Fit and finish. Maybe the fit and finish on the 23ZX, the Ultre, is now just superb. But in general, when you get in a Nautique and you get in a Tige, in general, the fit and finish is still higher on the Nautique. So I'm giving it to Nautique there. They've just got pretty high-end fit and finish, which I've heard many people say. I've experienced it myself too. Maybe the Ultre is now a boat that's upping that level, but they're processed in the same factory, so chances are fit and finish is still higher on the Nautique. Hull design. I think all three of these boats probably have such a high level of hull design that they are probably all putting out great wakes and waves. So I'm not going to necessarily let one win over the other. Again, I told you that the G23, I think, probably still has I put my money on having a best wakeboard wake, but that's not what people are out buying surf boats for. They're buying them for surf waves. So that's why I think there's not a clear winner here, because I bet it's based on rider preference. Resale value. Definitely Nautique shines when it comes to resale value compared to Tige. Tiges are definitely staying on the lot longer than Nautiques in general. Now that could be argued, but that's just what I've seen in my experience. Generally Nautiques, there are less on the market, so when you list your Nautique, you're going to sell it faster than a Tige. So so then we go back to cost, and I think the G23 would probably be the highest price here. Just not sure about this Ultra series. So I think these might be close in price. Maybe Nautique's still a little bit more. My guess is the cheapest one is the 24 RZX. Another note here is the guy that commented, Brian Howard, my friend, he owns a Tige. I think it's a few years older. I want to say it's like a 2018 or maybe a 2020, maybe as much as a 2020. I just can't remember. And I think it might even be an RZX. I just don't remember if it's 22 or 24. It might be a 22. But he's big into wakeboarding. That's his main reason for owning a boat. He's similar to me. He loves the RZX wake and thinks it's a great wake for the money. Now I know he loves the G23 wake too, but as far as a great wakeboard wake for the money, I would say that if you want the top wakeboard wake out there, then G23 is probably for you. If you want the best bang for your buck, probably 24 RZX in this comparison scenario. But best surf wave, I think if you're just looking at specs, obviously the 23ZX is the best here. The 24 RZX, I believe, is probably best bang for your buck as far as cost and how much wave you get. I think between all three of these boats, I don't think you're gonna be unhappy with any of their waves. That's also my bet. So based on cost and just being able to fit as many people as possible, I would say that most people are probably gonna pick the 24 RZX in this scenario. Because if they all have a similar wave, one's a little bit bigger than the other, I believe this one's probably gonna beat out the other two in cost. So yeah, what would Wake Man do in this scenario? I would still go with the G23 just because I love my wakeboard wake. Now, if my budget was in line with the 24 RZX, I would certainly be considering a 24 RZX if I was going out and looking at 2024 boats. If my choice was between the 23ZX and the G23, just because I'm a wakeboarder mainly, obviously I'd pick the G23. But if I was mainly a surfer, I would definitely feel compelled to get behind a 23ZX and a 24 RZX to see which one, to see if I like those better than the G23 wave, and then I'd pick based on that. So what would Wake Man do? Obviously I'm a wakeboarder, so I go for the wakeboard wake, but I honestly think in your scenario, in this case, do your best to get behind them because I think they're close enough to where it might be based on rider preference. But obviously if there's things that are more important to you, like fit and finish, resale value, maybe you just like the look of the Tige series. You know, that's one thing. Before I even owned a wake boat, I really liked the aggressive look of the Tige brand. So that might be what wins for you. Who knows? So that's it for this video. Make sure to keep on providing more ideas for comparisons. It doesn't have to be boat comparisons. It can be any type of scenario in the wakeboarding or wake surfing industry, and I'll give my thoughts and opinions. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any thoughts on this video or ideas for future videos, please leave those in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and click on that notification bell so you'll be notified of my future videos. I'll see you next week.